Hello, Search here for the Backyard Driving Range. We have a question that came in customer service, and this one comes from Daniel Larson. And Daniel says, just another note of question with the driver as a follow-up to my first email. I have seen an old tape of DJ and noticed that his hands are not forward at address with the driver, as has been the norm of other instruction videos. That is, his hands are behind the ball and not straight down the left arm, and when nudged forward at address. Something new to try with a whole bunch of question marks. Not really. As you all know, DJ is a high-level athlete, golfer, and in many cases, sometimes they can do things better than most of us can do, because A, they have superior talents, and B, they've honed them very expertly, and they practice a lot, and they can sometimes get away with things that most other folks can't. So let me talk about that position and what's happening and why DJ does what he does, and kind of where I may be going with this thing right now. All right, so you can see here's a line that will be the ball position line, and I'm just going to leave this here without a ball on it, but at least you can see where the ball is supposed to be aimed. Now, we've always stated that when you hold the club in your hand, if you stand up straight, you'll notice that your hands kind of both rotate inward. And so one of the things Dr. Armstrong does to teach people the correct grip position of the left hand on the club, the forward hand, is he just has you standing and he drops the club in your hand, and you notice that in this position, the arm and the shaft are basically straight up in line, and the head is actually behind the hand. We like to maintain that relationship when we come here and walk into the ball. So one of the things I always try to make sure that is, and remember now, when we have the flared feet, you have to be careful about your position in terms of the ball. Okay, if you had been playing like with your stance like this and had the ball off your toe over here, and you flare your feet and you move it off your toe now, you'll be so far forward you'll have trouble hitting the ball. All right. So once you flare your feet, you'll be keeping it about your heel would be about the same place as if you had it off your instep when your feet are straight. Okay. So you get your hands up here. One of the things I like to always feel for me is that my right hand, the V of my right hand, would basically be over that ball line. All right. That comes in if I were making the H. Now, DJ is a little bit like this. I think we might say his right hand is behind the ball, but not his left hand. For his left hand to be behind the ball from that line, he'd have to be way back here. He's never there. He does not have a shaft back position. He still has he has a very slight shaft forward. Not as much as I do and most of you, but yet he hits the ball pretty good. Now, one of the things that I've been working on diligently with DJ lately is he has a situation, just like all of us, to walk into the ball shut. So if you tend to aim to the right a lot, doing this gets you to feel like you can swing the club down the line a little bit easier. All right. So we're working really diligently on him. He's been careless with his alignment, and in the last couple of weeks, I've really been working him hard on getting it to better alignment. When I do that, I'm gonna be massaging his hands back to this position. Now, why is that still a better thing to do? Well, if I start in this position versus this, that could be as much as 20 degrees of less rotation that I have to make to get the club into the mitt and to my toe line, where the forward arm and shaft are over the toe line. So if I'm back here and I got 20 more degrees, that means that I have to either accelerate that more, in other words, do it faster, which gives me a very high probability of overdoing it a little bit, and instead of being in this position, I could be sucking it inside a little bit too much, and so it opens up margin of error. So that's one of the reasons why I want to get him back to be in this position, but he can't really do it consistently until he aims correctly. Okay? And so we're working on some feelings and some thoughts about how he's got to perceive himself when he looks at the target, and I might come back to it in the future, and I just don't think I could say it enough until I know exactly and we see what really works consistently. And so, yes, you're accurate in what I saw with what you see with DJ. But again, I would prefer this. I have to, when you're working with players, you still, even higher handicappers, sometimes we have to take small steps to get into the correct positions. But again, we're starting here. This has, I think his hand slightly back is more than anything a reaction to the consistency or the inconsistency of his aiming correctly, where majority of the times he's aiming right and shots in the fairway are 10 to 20 or even 30 yard pulls to the left, depending on how far right he gets. And that's why if you watch DJ stats on Shot Tracker when he's playing, he misses more balls to the right than he does anything else. But he's occasionally getting that pull into the left rough or the left bunker, and he occasionally pulls balls left to the greens. But he tends to miss right more often. And then I think this hand position is a net result of that, where he feels like he can keep the club up and down, so to speak, the target line, even when he's aimed a little bit right, a lot better. But he does not have a complete both hands behind the ball. I say his left hand is about even with the shaft, with this ball position line, and his right hand will be a little bit behind it. But again, as I said, that makes you have to have about 20 more degrees of rotation that you got to do faster to get the club over your toe line to start it up, and naturally that can allow it to get a little inside. And I have seen DJ be a little bit inside too. If you're checking his swing out from this view, his club heads get a little deep before it starts going up, and that can help induce a little bit more turn of both his hips and his shoulders, which if you're inside now can have him coming straight back down to swing out to the right more, and then possibly over the top and come back. So these are all little subtleties we're changing in his swing, and it all starts basically with setup. And the big issue with his setup is the fact that he tends to aim right, probably as much as 80% of the times he sets up with a ball to hit a ball. And again, the longer the club, the more right he is. And so we correct that. All these things are falling into place and allowing us to cut down the turn, because he has a tendency to overturn his shoulders now, because once that club is going inside and a little bit too much inside, because he has to rotate that extra 20 degrees from starting here instead of there, all of those things can add up and be adding up, going in the wrong way, the wrong direction, and causing more compensations, which can end up having you hit more shots not as well as they could be hit, and even to the point of being poor shots and bad shots. Okay, so great observation about DJ's hand position relative to his ball at address with the driver, and so we're going to be working on that with all the clubs in the bag, because it should be in line with all the clubs. All right, but great observation. Hope you understand this answer, and no, it's not anything new, because I'm trying to get him back to the same thing I do myself, and I teach all of you. Left arm and shaft in line, where the right hand is directly over the ball position line. Okay, that's it for the search for today. Hopefully this clears up the position of the left arm and shaft in line, so that we can all start making more consistent swings and hitting better shots and shooting those lower scores. That's it for the search for today, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.